Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue Podcast. With me in the studio today is Hemmings' very own Rob Einaudi, our Director of Marketing and Business Development. Now, Rob was on another show, and I have a feeling Rob's going to be on quite a few shows because what happens is Rob and I started kind of talking about models of cars that we've had in the past and how they kind of made an impact not only on us as enthusiasts and owners, but how they might make an impact on you. What's up, Rob? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm tired. I'm tired, dude. We just finished like 5 straight days of filming, and I'm like, I could use a nap, you know?
We just
Straight up.
survived an epic heat wave here, but come out the other side, so feeling better
Well,
now.
today I am enthusiastic. I have my coffee, and I got 3 drinks in front of me, so I'm good. So at least I'll be hydrated for this. But today, for everybody else out there, today is S197 Mustang Day. That means the Mustangs built between 2005 and 2014. Now,
That's right.
Rob and I both have owned these cars. And, we're always looking at different values of vehicles, what's coming up in the market, what's not, and more importantly, what the best bargains are. And we've always said that these cars are so undervalued and underrated that if you're looking to get into the kind of the entry level sports car market slash still muscle car, this
This
is
is
what
the
you buy,
one. This is
right?
the one. And the prices they're at now, I think they can only go up at this point. I think they've hit the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Um, and they're just cool. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar. Like you said, it's hard to find something better out there.
No.
And then what we're also saying is there's so many to choose from, within this group of vehicles.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, when the Mustang, I don't know if y'all remember when the Mustang came out in '05, but they had that crazy Steve McQueen ad with the Mustang, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it was one of those things where it was the first of like the retro styled cars, right?
it was
Because
a
you had the
huge deal.
It
Huge
was
deal.
massive. I mean, people don't really remember that, but like when
Yeah.
that car came out, you were coming out of the previous body style where, after the Fox bodies, Mustangs just got fat and bloated and just kind of Ford kind of lost their way a little bit. And then in
At least they
'05,
kept it alive, right? There wasn't there.
oh
That's the
yeah,
thing, right? The Camaro was dead.
Camaro was dead.
Challenger is dead and buried. I
Yep.
mean, and honestly, whether you're a Ford, Chevy, or Mopar guy, you've got to hand it to Ford because if it wasn't for the success of the '05 Mustang, we wouldn't have any of these cars.
No, not at all. I mean, it really sparked off kind of the pony car wars again back in '05 that's still somewhat raging on today.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think the styling out of the gate, right? You had that kind of flush grill. It went back to the fastbacks from like the
yeah,
'60s,
yeah,
and I remember the first time I saw it, I was just like, Jesus, they freaking nailed this thing. Like
yeah,
styling would just blew me away.
yeah. Well, they had the show car in Detroit in like maybe I forget what year exactly, 2003 or something. And then
Yeah,
everyone's like, well, I'm sure Ford's going to fuck it up. They're
right.
not going to, they're not going to make
Yeah,
it look that cool. And
yeah,
I mean, I think me and you were in a similar position that time. We were both like working shitty jobs
yep,
in the baking industry, right? And
yep,
I spent all my time on car forums at work. And I was into the Mopar forums because I had my '66 satellite of port, but I spent a lot of time on StangNet, and everyone was looking for any little hint of what the real car was going to look
that's
like.
right.
And it was so fun, and it was an exciting time. I remember like some vendor I think who'd been at Ford to for like the windshield wiper nozzles or something like that posted a photo with his front flip phone. He got fired immediately, but then everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're actually building a cool
Yeah,
car."
yep, yeah,
So it was great, and it's Jay Mays, right? Like one of the coolest
yeah.
dudes in the
Designers
car
ever.
industry. Yeah, and he'd come from V Dub with the new Beetle, so he was like firm on the whole retro thing.
Yep,
Um, you got Hao Tae Tong, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the chief engineer was just total badass. And, he'd
yep,
been born in Saigon, seen the original Mustangs on the street,
yep.
brought over during the Vietnam War. So just a lot of cool stories, a lot of really cool people associated with that project.
Well, I think, we were also at a time back then when America didn't really have anything. right?
Nothing.
We had the Corvette, but that was kind of it. And like I said, previous Mustangs were just fat and bloated, and they really didn't performance wise, they weren't very good.
Yeah.
So when the S197 came out, everybody just kind of stood up and took notice. And then it, as every Mustang does, right? When Ford designs these cars, they do them for mass appeal. So basically what you started with was a $22,000 rental car chassis, and then
Yep.
you build on that, right? They build them for fleet sales. They build them for, Hertz and Avis and whomever else is out there, because they know people are going to rent the hell out of them.
Yeah.
But the fact is, when you look at the years and you look at how they progressed, right? I mean, you're talking the original S197, that was in 2005, all the way up to the final, like the Boss 302, like the
Yeah.
Laguna Secas and the Bullets
So
and stuff like that.
it went to a legitimate M3 killer, right? Like,
Oh,
think about
dude.
that. That's huge.
So I know. So Rob, what year was yours? Yours was an '06 or '07, right?
So I had an '07 GT, and when I was pulling up the photos for this, I started really feeling sad that I sold it. And then as one of the family cars for the kids to kick around, we still have an '06 V6 car.
Yeah.
And that thing's just awesome. Like, it's got a truck engine, and I got it for nothing. It looks
Looks
sharp.
great. Yep.
And it's just cool. Like, the kids think it's cool. Like, most of their friends are driving, the parents' SUV or whatever. And this thing is like, it's one of the last kind of analog feeling cars, steering's heavy and they're just cool.
Well, it was super analog. And I mean, I know, like, I remember in 2013 or 2012, I should say, I was in the market. At the time, I was driving a Dodge Magnum, an SRT8 Magnum, big hearse looking power wagon.
That thing was awesome.
And it was great. It's a great car, but I took it to a couple of track days, and it was just a big, heavy thing. That's not what it was meant to do. And so I started doing the research, right? And I was looking for minimum 400 horsepower. I was looking for rear wheel drive, manual transmission. And at that time, Ford had really introduced the track pack. And in 2013, I remember ordering one because I walked in the Ford dealer. I knew exactly what I wanted. I ordered a 2013 Ingot Silver 300A, which was the base model car.
Yep.
Manual, spoiler delete, with the Recaros, because they offered factory Recaros, and the track pack, which was the Brembo brakes, the bigger sway bars, and stuff like that. And that car ripped. I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, you bought that to try to embarrass Porsches, I seem to recall.
Well, I did. I mean, and this is, I guess what I'm saying is that, for everybody poo-pooed it because it was the last solid live axle Mustang, right? 2014 was the last solid live axle Mustang.
Yep.
And then 2015, it was it the S550? I think it morphed into more of a real kind of true sports car. Where, 2013, 2014, they were sports car-ish, but still heavy on the muscle car route.
Yeah.
But like, I bought mine. I'm up in Northern California. I sent it to a company called Cortex Racing, left the motor and drivetrain 100% stock, and redid the suspension. So like,
and the exterior looked stock.
Oh,
so it looked like you were driving a rental car with nice
people
wheels.
Will get so mad. Like, I was running 315 squared. I was running a torque arm Watts link with an SLA front end, JRI shocks, and I remember my first track day, because I had a little trailer built, and my buddy at Jack Dick Customs built me this trailer, and I go to the track, and I've got my racing slicks in the back. So I take my jack and jack it up and take the slicks out of the back, and people are kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? And went out in the expert class and just decimated 911s and decimated Corvettes. And I remember coming back into the pits, and people were like, what did you just do? So anybody that is even remotely on the fence about buying these cars, I mean, I guess the biggest problem would be finding one that hasn't been hashed. No?
Yeah, we were talking about that too. Like, buying a used Mustang is hard.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I mean, day one they get modified, and day one they get just beat up. Yeah. Like, when I was looking for my '07, I originally was looking for a Bullet, and I gave up. And I found the '07 GT, but it took me forever. And that was when I was looking in 2012. This is a 4 or 5 year old cars, and half of them were already just trashed.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But the flip side of that is they can take the abuse, and then a lot get modified to something that you'd never want to look at. Embarrassing.
Well, I think, well, they get a bad rap, and I think I know when I got mine, they have the transmission in those was called the MT82, and it was a Chinese sourced transmission, and everybody bitched about them, everybody moaned about them. I sold my car probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Um, I had 24,000 foot to the floor, like straight up track miles. Like I would
Yeah,
drive my car
yeah,
to Laguna Seca and Sonoma, and that car lived between 5,000 and 7,000 RPMs for the 24,000 miles that I own that car. The literally the only mechanical thing I did, I mean, suspension aside, I changed the oil.
yeah.
I
I
changed the
never
oil.
did. I've never done anything to any of mine except just routine maintenance. Never had any problems. And the
Dude,
V6 one's got 130,000 miles on it or something like that. Um, yeah, we should talk about the engines though a little bit. Like, well, first of all, just the V6 cars don't. I mean, yeah, 190 horsepower, whatever, but like that's still probably more power than most quote
it's a
unquote
it's a
60s muscle cars.
it's a perfect first car for somebody.
Totally fine. Yeah, and it keeps your insurance down for the kids.
Yeah.
But I thought that 4.6, the 300 horsepower one in the '07, I think that's a neat little motor. Yeah, the 5.0 is a huge jump, but that 300 horsepower is plenty of power for that
Oh,
car
dude,
too.
the mod motors in those were really really good, and they're still great motors.
Yeah,
They really are. I think that it's a testament that there are so many of them on the road. I mean, Mustangs are notorious. Mustangs are notorious for getting just abused. But you had that motor. Then when the Coyotes came out, that was a whole nother ball game because I mean, I put a tune on mine, and we took it out into the desert. And I remember myself and my wife. That car did 171 miles an hour when we removed the speed
what did
limit.
it feel like at that speed?
Well, with the suspension that I had on it, it was great.
Oh, right, right,
But
right.
even like without the speed limiter removed, when I got it, I mean, I bounced it off the 155 speed limiter,
Wow.
and it was fine, and it was
Yeah,
comfortable, and it was usable, and it was a great car, man. Like I look at him now, and I'm like, maybe I should buy another one.
I know. Well, that's the other things about Mustangs is they're kind of comfortable. I mean,
Oh,
like the AE86 and stuff, like, we've had these as press cars and people are
yeah,
like, this is a more pure sports car. It's like, yeah, but do you want to live with this car every day? Like
right,
Mustang is a car you can live with every day. We're old. Like, do you want to get on and off the ground all the, like
right,
Mustang's nice ride height, decent seats,
yeah.
good air conditioning, all the things,
I,
you always talk about.
oh, dude, it's
Old
it's real.
men. But yeah,
Yeah. But I think the other thing is though, they're going back to your usability proposal. You could just get in them every single day. You could put 150,000 miles on them, just changing the oil,
yeah,
right? But you want to talk about straight up just like fun burnout machines, sling donuts in them,
yeah,
or just get an automatic, drive it like an old lady,
yeah, totally
and
fine.
just enjoy the car. Or the V6 ones, again, they're great. Now there were some things that okay, like the interiors. Okay, like the interior is kind of
I
what you'd
actually like
expect.
the '05 to '09 interior, a little less the one that followed, but they're simple. I mean, I think that's the way to put it. And
There was
yeah,
a
they're a
lot of
little cheap
plastic.
and
Yeah, lot of hard
but the
plastics.
basic design's cool. Those vents were cool.
Oh
The
yeah,
steering
yep.
wheel was really cool. The center console was cool.
Yeah.
They're just neat. The other good thing about them, and this compared to the Camaro and the Challengers, the outward visibility is great. Like Camaro, if you're
Oh
over
yeah.
a certain height, you can't see out of the goddamn thing.
No.
You told me the first time first time I got in one with a helmet at the track, I was getting a neck crick.
Hmm.
You can't, you pull up to a stoplight and can't see,
Well, that
and
was the thing. Like I
and
know
the
when I was looking.
Challenger is terrible rear visibility, but the Mustang's all the way around good visibility.
No, Mustang was great. Like I said, when I was looking, I needed certain parameters, right? I needed rear wheel drive, 400 horsepower, manual, and with a helmet on, right? And I was able to do that with the Mustang. And
But that
but
eliminated the
yeah,
Camaro for you, right? I mean, that
a
eliminated it.
Camaro I hardly even fit in normally when the
Yeah,
Camaro first came out.
yeah,
And like I said, the Challenge was just way too big.
yeah.
Um, and the other part was like if you got the track pack in the Mustang back in 2013, I think when I bought mine, it came fairly well equipped, right? It came with big
Hmm.
Brembos on it. It came with
Yeah,
19-inch wheels that were running 255s all around, which is a nice size tire. But I think you know, what you said about how many different variations of Mustang,
Hmm.
like if you're in the market for one and you are looking for your specific tastes. I mean, Rob sent me an email a little while ago, and like no joke, I'm gonna run. You mind if I run through these?
No, go for it.
All right. So you've
These
got,
are vehicles we found on Hemmings. We have like 109 right now,
oh my God. Yeah, we've got a ton of Mustangs on there.
and
But
we skew higher end on our site with the Mustangs. But yeah, go for it. Tell them what we got.
well, that's the nice part. Actually, we should actually say that. Like, if you're looking for one that has been beat to death by like a 17-year-old that slung it into a post,
Yeah.
like go to the Hemmings website and look because our dealers have some amazing ones and there are a bunch of private ones. But anyway, like, oh shit. Oh
Uh,
no.
I thought you were in a high end recording studio, Mike.
I'm in my office. Oh man, did you see that? My studio just fell down.
Was that an earthquake?
Oh no! This is the worst. Now everybody knows my audio secret.
See behind the curtain
right now. There you go. All right, studio's back in action. See, 100% professional here. We don't skimp on anything. This is how we do it.
High production values.
High production value. So yeah, when you're talking about different models and makes, there was a Hertz edition, there was a Saline. They made drag only Cobra Jet. There was the Boss 302, the Boss 302 Laguna Seca, the Shelby, the Bullet. Like,
yeah,
there were so many.
Which is your favorite? If you could have any of those,
I would probably take Boss 302 Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that car. I got to drive that. BFG had a drive thing, and
Yeah.
I thought that thing was amazing. I, however, will pick the Bullet. I got that as a press car, and I think that's the only time I've not wanted, literally not wanted to give a press car back. I was just so, it's got so many cool little features. I love that. That green is sick. A Bullet might be a little less likely to be totally abused because, and some of these other ones a little less likely because people knew they were special at the time too.
I agree. Yeah, it's funny. My accountant has a Bullet. He's got an 06 or 7 Bullet. When did the Bullet come out?
08 and 09.
Okay, so he's got an 08. I know he's got the first year, but he's got one with like 31,000 miles on it, and it's just a nice car. And
they're cool.
Daily drive them, go out, have fun with them. The one that I would avoid, like if you're looking for ones, the Boss 302s, they were really well sorted cars. They were real performance cars. If you took a Laguna Seca and you went up against an M3 of the same year, your performance was right there, or better. I mean, they were that good.
You're not a fan of the Shelby. You're not a fan of the Shelby.
Dude, a buddy of mine had a 2014 Shelby, and it was 668 horsepower. I mean, that's a ton of horsepower to put to a $22,000 rental car chassis. Yeah. And it just didn't work. It just they're fast, but you had to do so much to modify the cars to get them to just hold that speed and hold that power. And I'm not really a fan of the Shelbys, to be honest with you. And that's with most Shelbys I'm not a fan of. I just think it's too much power for what the cars have.
Yeah, I do think 400 horsepower is a sweet spot on that, ish. And then even the 300 on the previous versions, the 4.6 is plenty to have a good time. Bullet or whatever, the Bullet, I guess was officially 315 or 325. I can't remember. But the other thing about these too is if even if you just get a base GT, as we both know, the aftermarket has everything for these cars.
Oh my God.
And you can fix any problem. I had the Roush Stage 2 suspension on my GT, and it was fantastic. And that was a $2,000 mod, basically, that just made it really handle great,
Yeah.
You can, exhaust options galore.
It's interesting when, just going to exhaust. It was funny. Like, this is where like the Mustang forums really come in handy. I was looking for an exhaust for mine, and again, mine was just base GT, but it was really quiet. And so I went onto the forums, and they said just get and I had listened to like all like the Borlers and the Corsa and all the other exhausts out there. They were so loud and they were so tinny. Yeah. And so I remember one dude just pinged me. He pinged me offline, and he said, "Go and buy a set of the mufflers off the GT500."
Yeah, that's right.
And install those. And I was like, really? And he sent me a little digital file of the thing, and it was the best advice I ever got because
Yeah.
the GT500 mufflers on the S197 they basically just remove one baffle, but
Yeah.
they're still an OEM factory part.
Yep.
So it's designed not to kill you, meaning the
Yeah.
drone or anything like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yet it gives you that little extra burble and it sounds good at speed. Man, I remember my wife bought them for me for my birthday. I think it was like $300 for both
Yeah.
mufflers. Like it was the best mod I did to the car, and
Yeah.
it sounded so right. It was
Yeah.
great.
I think I had Borla on mine or something that did have that drone. It was a little annoying, but I was
Yeah.
about to just put like I was going to do what you did, and then I just ended up selling it. But the funniest was the V6 car. Someone put a straight pipe on it when I had it. And it was
Ooh.
one of the loudest cars. All the neighbors were like freaking out, and I'm like, it's just a V6, you know. But got that sorted out, so now it sounds fairly normal. But
Yeah. Well, now it's funny. Like, I mean, V6 Mustangs now are 300 horsepower or whatever they are,
oh yeah,
310
the
or
base
20. I
now,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
crazy.
But the S197s, like I said, solid live axle. It was that. You're right. It was that right. The perfect analog sport/muscle car for the
Yeah,
price, right?
for
Because
the
let's
price.
like price wise, where are they bouncing around right now?
Well, we got our V6 one for $5,000, So, and I think probably a decent '05 to '09 GT is going to cost you between 10, maybe 15 grand tops. I mean, probably not even that much. And then you're going
With
to
some
get it.
miles.
Yeah. And the 5-speed cars are going to cost more than the automatics, of course.
Yeah.
And are harder to find. The convertibles, I think, are pretty reasonable, like maybe even cheaper than the fastbacks.
Convertibles are always cheaper.
Yeah.
Convertibles are always
I
cheaper.
think people just don't really, the enthusiast who's shopping for that in that segment is less interested in them.
Well, they had one. Hang on, I gotta find this. They had one that was I think it was a Pernelli Jones Mustang, and I remember when it came out because I was like, "Whoa!" I was looking at this thing. Yes, they did. Yeah, 2007 Mustang Saline Pernelli Jones edition. This thing I thought was probably one of, if not the best looking Mustangs. It had the larger kind of 6-spoke or 8-spoke mini light style wheels on it. It was just a great
Yeah.
looking machine.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the
but
5.0 models are going to cost a bit more still. Like the car like you had, nice shapes, what's probably going to cost
Coyotes
you
were
15.
always well, they're great
Right.
engines, dude. I mean, they're 400 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, and um, that car ripped, dude. I mean, that
Yeah.
car, like I said, a 170 mile an hour car, 171 mile an hour car. It's fast, fast. But it's funny.
Yeah.
Rob and I would always talk about this. We'd always talk about if I have, you know, I want to say to find good ones, you want to say like 15 to 30 grand, 15 to 35 grand,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right? Because Laguna
Especially when you
Secas
get
would be
into the
more,
special
but
editions. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I feel like a
you know,
good bullet is
um,
going to be 25.
yeah. But I feel like God, that's such a bargain for what you get.
Yeah, and it'll probably stay there for a long time. There's always going to be a buyer for that car.
Yeah, I agree. So, and there are other cars out there. Like we always say, you either buy a Camaro or you buy a Mustang if that's what your price range is. Um, and but if you're gonna go past that, then step up and buy like a Porsche Cayman or a 911.
That sounds like
Which
another show.
it's another show. Oh yeah, no, we're doing a show on that. Um, but it's just cool, yeah, because like, and I'm curious if anybody out there has an S197, like what your thoughts are on it. And I know we're gonna get a lot of crap because I know people are gonna be like, well, what about the ones that were previous? I have one of those, and they're great too. We're not saying that. Yeah, I'll probably say they're terrible. They're not very good.
I don't know. I like Fox bodies. I think they're cool. They've got a good look when they're done right. And the SN95, there's some really cool ones in there. That Mach 1 they made in 2004 was a pretty cool car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's nice.
I think this is kind of my favorite. This is for me is a sweet spot over the years, other than of course some of the '60s ones. But the S197, get the cool retro vibe and good drivability, analog experience, and they're just, they're cool now. They'll always be cool. So.
All right. So then you're saying you would go Bullet, and I'm saying Boss 302 Shelby.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Laguna Seca. Man.
Laguna Seca.
Okay.
You are tired, man.
Dude, I'm shot today. I'm telling you, dude. Like, I only had one cup of coffee, and like, I'm out of it. It's like the first time I'm just like in the weeds, but.
All right. We can probably wrap this one then, huh? I think we covered everything.
Yeah, this is going to be a short one, just because, I mean, like, we could dive in for an hour on certain cars, but I think the big takeaway here is that if you're an enthusiast, if you're looking to kind of go to the next level of sports car where you can have a lot of fun for not a lot of money, I think the S197 might be the car for you. If they're equipped with the manuals, please don't believe everything you read about the MT82 transmission. They're actually pretty good. Like I said, I never had a bad experience with it. Rob never had a bad experience with them. Loads and loads of power. The 4.6s and the Coyote motors, very, very reliable.
Stout.
The 6-cylinder that's in the one Rob has, it's basically a truck motor. They just run and run. Just all around great cars. Yep. Can the interiors be a little better? Sure, but you can update those. Listen, any interior shop, if you want to wrap some stuff in vinyl or leather, you can do that. But I think as a base car, a Mustang GT, an S197 specifically, is something you want to look at because I think they're great.
Agreed.
So, all right, this is a short one. This podcast is only about a half an hour, but as usual, everyone, thank you for joining in. Check out the Hemmings classifieds. Check out the Hemmings auctions, because we've got a ton of them on. Like Rob said, we got 109 Mustangs on there, and there's guaranteed to be one that's going to fit your price and your bill. So check them out, and we will see you next time on the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod Barbecue podcast and hit that subscribe button, and we'll come to you every week.